Claude AI is about to start hiding an invisible watermark inside all of the text that it generates. You won't see it, it apparently won't change the quality of the answer, and according to Anthropic, it can actually follow the text when you copy and paste it elsewhere. So, can you remove it? Can somebody detect that a paragraph came from Claude? And does this mean that every Claude answer is now traceable? The answer is a little bit more complicated than it might seem, so let's go through it a little bit, and later on in the video I'm going to leave you with two important points to think about that will actually impact you and the world around you. But before I talk about that, let's get into how Claude plans to watermark text. So this is Claude's announcement. I'll leave the link down in the description if you want to read more about it. What you really need to think about now is that older models, they're not going to try and mess with them. They're going to try to implement this, but probably they won't get it perfectly. So Claude plans to do this in two different ways: an embedded watermark in the text and signed provenance metadata. So let's get into that a little bit. So the first one is to embed watermarks in text. So what does that mean? So for example, if we're on Claude here and we get it to write us a 1,000-word essay on Beethoven, we need to think about why and how this actually works. So it's actually creating a file for me. It generates each word separately and goes word by word. So basically what it's going to do is like pick a word and then take a second word and a third word, and it's going to make a prediction based on the previous text that it's already written. And each time it chooses a word, it actually makes sense over time, right? That's how large language models work. It's based on predictability. What they're planning to do is not to, mess with the words or the spaces or anything like that. What they're really trying to do is going to basically always follow a specific pattern. So all the time they have probabilities of choosing this word followed by this word, and they're going to follow a specific algorithm that always notices that they're going to choose this and this. I don't really see how they can maintain the quality, the same quality, if they're always going in the same direction. According to Anthropic, they will be able to maintain quality. Because if you think about a human, we always just choose random ways of choosing the next word in our speech and in our writing. Of course, there are some patterns there, but we don't really have an algorithmic pattern that you could spot or, come up with an algorithm to test what word I'm going to say next. So they say that the watermarking will be applied at the model level. You can't change the model to make it not do this, basically, to follow this specific algorithmic way of presenting word after word. They also say they're going to include something like created by Claude in the metadata. So every time it creates a file, like in this case, it created a little file for me, a markdown file for me. So if I want to download this, it's going to come with a special sign that in the data that says it was created by Claude. So they're also pointing out that there are limitations on this, that it's really going to be impossible to ever say that this is conclusively text written by Claude. So for the following reasons, like if it was generated by a model release before this was supported, we talked about that. The text has been heavily edited, paraphrased, or translated, or mixed into other writing, then it's not going to follow the same algorithm progression as it did before. You're going to need a longer text to show the detection tool, whatever. They haven't actually talked about what detection tool they're going to use yet, but it's going to have at least 500 words to show the algorithmic progression over time. And basically other ways that people can just change the text so that you can't follow this marking process anymore. There are other limitations to this, and basically it could be if, for example, a question is there's only one correct answer. So in this case, it could be if the whole text was basically water boils at 100 degrees Celsius, then that text is always true. There's only one way to think about it. This only works if there are different options that the LLM can choose. It's also quite easy to bypass, really. You can just translate it into another language and then translate it back, and then it's not going to follow the same choice order of words. So the two important things that I think that you need to think about, first of all, is that Claude says that this is everywhere. So maybe you have a business and you're running Claude as part of your business in the API or something like that, or you use apps that use Claude. So you have to think about which apps that you're using and could they potentially be using Claude. That's something that I think everybody should be thinking about. And possibly more important is that this only detects Claude. So obviously, people will be using, several tools, or you use ChatGPT or Gemini or something like this. So this only really works if every AI company signs up to the same protocol and they all use some sort of similar algorithmic progression that could actually solve this problem. But I don't really see that happening anyway, because there are lots of open source models as well. So you can just run some of these models on your computer, fine tune them in any way that you want. And then, of course, that won't really show up in any AI detection of Claude. So no matter what happens with Claude, you'll still need some sort of general purpose AI detection tool like Winston AI that you can check ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or any one of these models. So for example, you can just put some Claude text in now and test it out to see if it's detected by AI or not. You can test already to see if any text was generated by Claude. I'd like to know what you think about this. If this is a good idea, do you think this is a good move by Anthropic to include watermarking? I'm not 100% sure yet, but I think we will find out over time. So leave a comment down below with your opinion, and I will respond to every one of them. Thanks for watching this video, and subscribe to the channel for more.